The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Well, we know crime in Houston and around the country, a major problem. Right here in the city of Houston, already more than 100 murders in the first 3 months of the year. Now, our police chief says crime is down here, but the pulse of the community would signal otherwise.
I mean, I can unequivocally tell you the numbers that I track as far as defendants charged with murder that have been released on multiple felonies have pretty much been stagnant for the last month or so. I have not seen the leaps that I've seen from 21 and even the first couple months of 22. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I can tell you, Isaiah, everywhere that we go, every public meeting that Crime Stoppers speaks at, crime is issue 1, 2, 3, 999. Everybody's talking about it. And it is probably the most paramount election issue in this upcoming election cycle. And I think for the first time in Harris County, you will actually see a concerted effort on the judicial races that we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm. And that's as a result of so many people with, I would say, a lengthy criminal history getting back out on multiple bonds, right?
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, your station with the breaking bond segments, I think we've done over 70 some odd segments, since we started doing this. And every week it just seems to be another case of another defendant who's been released on multiple times that goes on to further his criminal career. So it's definitely touched a nerve, and it's also galvanized the people of Houston and the residents of Harris County that have basically said enough is enough. I mean, look what's going, everybody's talking about this now. And for the first time, I'm seeing a more bipartisan effort in dealing with the issues of bond reform. We had a press conference today at Crime Stoppers with Senator Whitmire, victims' families, and so forth. Tomorrow, there's a hearing at the bail board meeting to try to get a minimum mandate of 10%. So I think you're going to see more and more people recognize that there is failures in our criminal justice system. This is kind of one little piece of the puzzle that we've got to get fixed, and then we can move on to the bigger and better issues.
No, you said with the bond board, you guys are looking at the meeting there, a minimum of 10%. Now, many of us thought the standard, not just in Houston, but around the country, was 10%. Are you saying there have been some bail bondsmen who go below that in getting people out on bond?
I had no idea, and I've been doing this 30 some odd years. I've always told families it's 10%, and I used to be confident. For example, if someone was on a $500,000 bond, and I would tell families, look, he's got to cough up 50 grand to get out. More than likely, that's not going to happen. I can't, in good conscience, do that anymore because of what we're seeing. We had the press conference a couple of weeks ago with the guy that's out on multiple capital murder bonds, totaling $1,500,000 some odd $100,000 worth of bonds. I did not know that some bail bonds companies, and very few, to be frank with you, are going below the standard 10% rate. So, but I think it's incumbent upon everybody here that we do get a universal one time, it's 10%, that's it for everybody. So that I can unequivocally tell victims' families, if the guy's got a $100,000 bond, it's $10,000. I think that's an important step that we need to take.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to crime that we're seeing, one of the crimes that's becoming more violent now in Houston, Harris County, and in some places around the country, theft of catalytic converters, where in some instances there's getting into shootouts with law enforcement officers, one deputy already killed. What can we do about catalytic converter thefts here in Houston, Andy?
One of my pet peeves, Isaiah, has always been how we, quote, classify what's called nonviolent crimes, and that is particularly property crimes. So, for example, a burglary is considered nonviolent. But to me, a burglary is a violent crime waiting to happen You're just lucky you weren't home
Right.
when the offenders barged in. And it's the same thing with the catalytic theft, those who steal catalytic converters. It's right now what we're seeing is very simple economics. It's risk versus rewards. There's very little risk. Even if you do get caught, it's, quote, labeled as a property crime.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much you're back out within 24 hours. And even if you do get convicted, you're not really looking at much penalty as well. So we either, A, have to enhance the penalties for those that do get convicted of stealing this particular part from a vehicle, and we also have to shut off, because you're making money doing this. You're not doing this because you're making chump change.
Right.
You're doing it because it's a big business. So you got to cut off the supply as well. So it's a two-prong approach. A, look at reclassifying property crimes like this and start enhancing penalties, and B, cutting off where you can actually make money from selling these parts.